Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Wednesday, July 22nd, I think, 21st, 22nd.
Double deuce, baby. 7 double deuce. The best badge ever to
deuce.
run Fresno PD. 7 double deuce.
What was that?
It's me, fool. Fresno.
That's your badge number?
Yeah, 722. Get like me.
I didn't
Stunting
know
is a
that.
habit.
Okay, it's a special day then. All right.
Oh, it's always a special day in my life, bro. Every day is a special day.
Hello everybody. You got the Miller Boyzzz, In Touch with the Miller Boyzzz on Wednesday night, 7:22. Special edition for my brother, G. Douglas. Welcome everybody to our weekly talk show where we discuss and debate
and love on each other.
Love on each other and do all the other kind
and
of
educate
stuff
y'all
around issues impacting the African American community of the city of Fresno and the larger surrounding area, and actually even the nation a little bit. So you got us for the next 59 minutes, I guess it is now.
Tonight I'm gonna go universal on y'all.
Okay, we good then. We good.
good.
Hey, Anardale, I see you chimed in with us. How you doing?
Hello.
Thank you for your support. But before we get going, officially, census. Make sure you get your census done. 2020census.org. Make sure you go there, or census2020.org. Either place will take you, get you to the census so that you can turn that in. Our president actually has done an administrative, no, it's not administrative, what's it called? The order, executive order. He did an executive order saying that the people who are not citizens that are in the country should not be counted in the census. Go back to when the census was started, they counted slaves. And slaves was only 3/5 of a human being in that particular time. Actually, that was even later. In the beginning, they weren't even considered citizens, and they counted them in the census as well. So please don't be deterred by that. There's numerous lawsuits that are coming out right now who are going to fight to make sure that everybody who resides in the United States of America is counted into our census. That's very important that we get that done.
Even me, even you.
Exactly. Secondly, please make sure that you go and get registered to vote. It's on the screen right now. It's at the website is sos.ca.gov. Stands for the Secretary of State of California on the governmental site. Please go there. This is what the page will look like. Please make sure you go on there in California to register to vote. Those of you who are in other states who are not in California, please go to your Secretary of State for your particular state to be able to make sure that you register. Please understand that vote by mail is going to happen, although they are challenging it in some other states. In California, everybody will get their ballot mailed to them at home. Then there's a couple of different ways you turn it in. In some other states, there requires an additional step, such as you have to register, you have to actually request a vote by mail ballot. In some states, you have to have a reason. So please make sure you go through that. We don't want anybody going out to the polling place, risking their lives to be able to cast a vote. You know, we're long past that. But please make sure that you participate in this election. It's going to be very important to make sure that we have full participation going forward. And I am, those of you who live in Fresno County, Area 3, I am a candidate. I am your candidate for to stay on the Fresno County Board of Education in Area 3. Anyway, we'll get back to that a little bit later. So what's up, G. Douglas?
Sag, rest in peace, rest in heaven, however y'all expression. John Lewis.
Yes.
And there was another young man, not young man.
C.T. Vivian.
Yes, yeah.
C.T. Vivian. Both of them were civil rights icons. John Lewis started civil rights, I want to say it was in 18, 19. He was a college student with the Freedom Riders. He's one of the first Freedom Riders on the buses that were working on integrating the South. He fought a good fight. There's actually I want to say it's on Netflix.
Good Trouble?
Good Trouble, yeah. I believe it's Netflix, right?
I'm not sure.
But there's a movie
my
out
TV
right
is
now.
complicated.
Yeah, a documentary out on him. Unfortunately, it's time with his demise, him passing away. But it's called Good Trouble. Please look that up and take a look at the life and legacy of John Lewis.
I am so honored that my children got to take that picture with him
saw that.
in Vegas. Yeah.
Where were you guys?
We were in Las Vegas at I think it's JJ's Soul Food. Michael was out there playing soccer at a tournament.
Is that the one where you guys also met the Harry Reid?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same day?
Mm-hmm. They all came through there
okay.
to get their grub on.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize it was that same day. I remember you guys talking about Harry Reid and you guys had met him. It's at wow.
Yeah, it was cool. And he took the picture. He snatched that little cute girl up and held her in his arms, and Michael and Marcus nestled in there, and they took the picture, and icon status.
And C.T. Vivian was he's a minister, pastor that was out of Atlanta that was very, very involved in the Civil Rights Act as well. He was, I don't think he was he was younger, but he wasn't a teen at that time. I want to say he was in his 20s when he was involved. C.T. Vivian was a person that Martin Luther King consulted with a lot before doing some of his things. And I didn't realize until, I think it was yesterday, they passed away on the same day. I didn't realize that. These two civil rights icon actually passed away on the same particular day.
So I was thinking, about them passing and stuff, and I'm large into legacies, and who's gonna be the next one to pick up the torch. I remember coming home from San Francisco State when the Supreme Court judge retired or passed. I'm not sure which it was, and I was told somebody will take his place.
Who, Thurgood?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
and look who took his place. Oh my God! So it's like the old football saying, it's time for someone to step up. Someone to step in there in those shoes and that role and move, because I said we're going to talk about on a universal spiritual level and issue now. It's not the time anymore. People are losing their strength and their power, and you're going to get ran over if you don't do what you need to do.
Okay, so
Yes,
check
sir.
this out. I didn't realize this until just right now. He is a member, A-Phi, of Alpha Phi fraternity.
What is that? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that. He's a fraternity brother of mine.
Okay. Which one?
His name is Cordy Tyndale. That's where CT comes from. Cordy Tyndale Vivian, born in Boonville, Missouri. 95 years old. So, yeah, he was a little older than John Lewis, because John Lewis was only in his 80s.
He was 80.
He was 80? Yeah, so there's 15 years difference. So he actually, when C.T. Vivian was involved in the civil rights, he would have been in his mid-20s, if not at 30 at that particular time. So he would have been part of the older guard that was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I never got a chance to meet either one of the men. John Lewis, if I'm not mistaken, he was a member of Phi Beta Sigma, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correctly. But C.T. Vivian was. And as I'm looking at him online now, he's got his, what's it called when you get arrested? And the numbers they used to hang?
Placards?
Mugshot?
His mugshot, thank you. His mugshot is on there as you look on it. And it's funny how gentlemen of his age that were part of the civil rights, they wear that mugshot, they show that mugshot as a badge of honor. That's not any disgraces involved in that at all. So, but I know that he was arrested numerous times with.
Yeah, Lewis was arrested 45 times.
He just got arrested like 5 years ago for something. I don't remember what it was. But yeah. So that's what the whole theme of his movie Good Trouble comes up with. People always say that being arrested is being in trouble. So my arrest and my handcuffs, I'll hold them in the same vein as being in good trouble. So what else is going on?
Portland.
Okay.
What you think about Portland?
I think Portland is a test case. Unfortunately, it's a negative test case for how our current administration wants to take a look at rolling out authoritarianism. And the good thing about it is that you've got mayors that are pushing back. I can't remember, it's not Chicago, but one of the other major cities that they're talking about sending troops in.
Chicago?
Well, Chicago, I know is one of them. One of the mayors, it wasn't Lightfoot.
Okay.
It was another mayor who says, if you bring them in here, and if they're running around and they're not identified, then I'm going to direct my police department to arrest them.
And I had that conversation today with someone, And when I made that statement, once again, I've said for the last couple of years that black people need to stay out of the way, and let these people that have the power fight it out about good and evil, because some people say the Constitution has been abolished, and that is the reason why Trump can put federal troops on domestic soil and have them act under the guise of Homeland Security without being held accountable.
That dude is, all he's doing is he's extending limits. He's pushing things to he knows what a line is, and he's going one step over the line to see what the reaction is. And if the reaction is such that he gets smacked on the tail, they have to go back across on the other side of the line, he's going to do that. If nobody pushes him or questions him on that, then he's going to keep rolling. And it's unfortunate that we have our leader of the free world who is using that type of tactics and those type of strategies, but it's not going to be good. I wish I could think of who the mayor was who spoke up today, who says, I can't stop them from coming, but what I can do is if they are here in unmarked vehicles and they don't have placards on their uniforms to identify who they are, and they're pulling people off the streets, then we're going to arrest them, because we don't know who they are. We don't know if they are part of Homeland Security and here in an official capacity, or we don't know if it's the militia from up the hill who's come down here and is just pulling people off the street.
Right.
Yeah, and it wasn't Chicago. It was someone else.
Well, that's what he's talking about, sending troops next into Chicago. Well,
Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta. Atlanta is on the radar. And it's curious that he would pick those cities, which are African American minority cities, or headed by an African American or female or an ethnic leadership that's in a particular city. That's the places that he's going to be going to do that. But
I would say it's telling, I personally believe that he's a racist. And so Congress backed me up by saying, was it last year, that he is deemed a racist. So that doesn't surprise me. It's a coalition of a few that are fighting for the rights that they still believe that they're losing, and they're losing their power. So that's what the dilemma and the dichotomy is going to be, because no one wants to lose their power. No one wants to slide down that tree and hit them thorns. You want to keep your place in society and be able to do and dictate and tell people what to do.
Well, I think the next 30 days is going to be very, very, very interesting in the United States of America, with the termination or the expiration of what's going on with the enhanced unemployment insurance, where everybody was getting an extra $600 and those type of things. Yeah. There's some people who haven't paid their mortgages, they haven't paid rent for the last 3 months. PG&E, they haven't paid these type of things, and all of the, well, I should say all, but most of those protections then are going to be expiring on July 31st. August is going to be very, very, very interesting.
I say September 1st. It's going to be the kickoff, because I honestly think that here in California, Texas, and Florida, where the COVID spike is running rampant, naked, drunk, and out there in the weeds, that they're going to shut these states back down, and then you throw in the mix that Trump is telling people that he wants them to go to school, they want these kids to go to school, and
the school part ain't happening. I can tell you right now, because Los Angeles, San Diego, and Fresno Unified, the 3 largest school districts in the state of California, have all said that they're not going back to face-to-face instruction until January. CIF, the California Interscholastic Federation, which oversees all of high school athletics in the state of California, which is the largest athletic body in the whole United States, just said that they're not going to have any athletic sports until January. So in CIF, they're going to do, instead of having 3 3 seasons of sports: fall, which is the football, volleyball, and then basketball, boys and girls basketball and wrestling, and then baseball, softball, and track. Instead of having 3 seasons of sports, they're going to reduce everything down to 2. And football is going to be played from the first week in January until the middle of March. Their state championship is going to be April 14th, I think it is. And then the second season is going to start in March, and their state championships, the state track meet, state baseball game, and state softball game, is not going to be until the end of June. So they're going to not cut out athletics, they're just going to reduce everything down into the end of the year. I can't see schools even having an inkling, unless they're up in top. You know, if they're up in Shaver Lake or Hume, we have a charter school, small district that's up in Hume. Maybe I can see them opening because it's only 84, it's less than 100 students that are up there. I can see them doing direct instruction because it's kind of very, very isolated. What's it called? The Jefferson, whatever the hell it is, the
land of Jefferson.
The land of Jefferson.
The 51st state.
Yeah, up there where they are, because it's kind of isolated. I can see possibly doing some things up there as far as face-to-face instruction. But the major cities, Los Angeles, Fresno, San Diego, San Jose, Oakland, San Francisco, Sacramento, I cannot see those school districts opening. There's too much liability that goes along with it. And so I had a conversation today, part of my campaign, with some union folks, and that was the question that came up. You know, what is my stance? What is my position on what's going on with education? Yes, we need to make sure that we're safe, teachers and students are safe, but the data is saying the kids don't necessarily transmit this to each other. They're not transmitting it to elders. First, the best place for students to learn is in the classroom, and I agree with both those things. I just think that this is a great opportunity for K-12 education to remodel itself. You know, we've been teaching in this model that we have for the last almost 100 years. Get to school at 8 o'clock, you leave at 3. You have 6 different periods during the day. You're there from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's a time, it's an opportunity. This is presents itself as an opportunity for us to be able to rethink how we're doing public education. And I hope that people, you know, who are administrators and those type of things see it in that different way. They don't see it as a hindrance, they see it as an opportunity. So it's just something else to think about, but you got to have a progressive mindset to do that. If your only reason is money, we got to open back up. Kids got to go back to school so their parents can go back to work.
Right.
So we got to open up our economy. Nah, we're going to be risking way too many lives in that type of vein. If we say that we cannot open schools, period, for the remainder of the year, then you're jeopardizing education. And we already have ethnic students who already have gaps in their learning because of other different factors. Now you add in COVID, now you're going to stagnate them even more. So it's just, it's a big, reopening the schools is a huge issue. There's nobody out there, I don't care who they say they are, Fauci, the president, me, whomever, nobody has the correct answer because nobody has enough information right now.
Well, the correct answer is whatever's best for you. If you're an elderly grandma with a kidney condition, you're not going to want to send your child, your grandchild, who you protect and watch, into this petri dish of schooling and have them bring this home and kill you because it's out there. It's real. Mm-hmm. You know what my girl say, Cardi B, coronavirus. That shit is real.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, no, you it's nothing to play with. That, you know, it's out there and it's real. And so my thing is, what's more important, you know, a child's education or the child's life?
Well, a child's education doesn't matter if they're not able to live to reap the benefits of it. A child's education is important. It's paramount to everything else they do. But if you put them in a situation where you're forcing them to go get their education, but they're not going to be able to live past 22, 23, or even if they get to that point, their body is so damaged that they can't, because one of the things they're saying is that this virus, those who contract it, is eating up or not eating up, but impacting their kidney. Their kidneys, their hearts, their lungs, their internal organs.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to live, you're 22 years old and you got to live with an oxygen tank that you're dragging around, that's impeded now what you're able to do. And so, yeah, I don't care what anybody says. That right now, then there is nobody that has the answer. Even the people say, well, when we get this vaccine, Fauci said today that even when we get the vaccine, this virus is not going to go away. This virus is going to be around just like the flu. We have a flu vaccine that's pretty effective in those type of things, but the flu has not been eradicated. He thinks that this coronavirus is going to be the same type of thing. Yeah, we're going to have a vaccine that people are going to be able to take when they get sick and those type of things, but it's not going to be eradicated. It's not going to be gone. So we're going to have to now adjust ourselves, our lifestyles, to be able to incorporate what goes on with this now coronavirus. And so that's what I mean about schools. I think that, wearing masks, I think that's a great practice. People in our Asian brothers and sisters out of China and Japan, we laugh at them and joke at them when they come over here and they've got those masks on. But guess what everybody's doing now? Wearing masks. And is mask the cure-all to end all? No, but it does reduce the ability to spread the virus, and it reduces your ability to contract the virus. And so maybe that's a social norm that we're going to have. And every time you go into a store of some sort, then you may need to wear a mask. I'm just sharing that with people. Maybe that's the new norm that we have. And so it's just interesting.
Well, I have a little difference of opinion. I think that this virus is going to be like the measles or the mumps or rubella, whatever. I think with good social, following the social contracts of washing your hands, staying clean, healthy hygiene, and a virus that it can be eradicated to a point to where it can be beat down and not affect our lives the way that because the flu is ever evolving.
Correct.
And I don't know if this, and I don't think it is. I haven't heard that this.
Yeah, Corona is also it is morphing itself.
Well, I haven't heard that. So I'm thinking that if it's a situation where you get the virus and you take you build anti, it's like chickenpox. The people who don't have it will get it maybe, power through it, and then it's in the past.
So guess what? Before the coronavirus in Fresno County, guess what the number 2, 1 and 2 ailments, viruses, bacteria, whatever the hell it is, was in the county that was making a resurgence?
Police brutality and sheriff brutality?
That's not a virus. That ain't a virus.
It can't be.
That's not a virus. I'm talking about viruses.
I don't know.
So, the lungs,
chikungunya and
syphilis. Syphilis was on the rise, and they had almost supposedly all but eradicated syphilis, and syphilis was making a rise here in Fresno County, as well as valley fever.
Okay.
Those are the two.
Well, valley fever is in the landscape.
Correct, but they had thought that they had been able to handle it, and they had kicked its butt pretty much, but it was making a resurgence.
And syphilis is once again personal hygiene. You are probably seeing syphilis through the elderly homes, and I don't know because I hadn't heard this.
I don't know that. I don't know where it's coming from, but I just know it's on the rise.
Through probably teenagers having intercourse, and that comes with knowledge. I would equate what you're saying.
But why would you do that why would that be attributed to the elderly? In the elderly home,
they getting their stroke in the homes. Hey man,
Okay.
So that's.
I have to do some more research on that, but I do know that those are the
free
two.
For all in the
those are the two
home.
things. Every year, as an educator, they talk about kind of the health trends. They got to give us the updates and information. And syphilis and valley fever were the two things that were on a rise. And like I said, they thought that they had all but eradicated syphilis.
For that though, it would be like, I don't know, 6 years ago when the measles were running rampant in Disneyland, was it, down in L.A.?
I remember that.
I think it was the mumps or measles, and they thought that they had eradicated that, but with the proper vaccinations and the proper hygiene, it can be removed from our society with people. Now the issue and the problem is that people don't, they don't want to wear masks.
I saw a girl today. Yeah, I'm sorry, that was yesterday. Come in the store. Everybody in the store got on masks, and it was no big issue. And this young 20-something-year-old Caucasian girl comes in the store. The tellers at the this ringing up people yells, "Hey, miss, you need to put a mask over you." And what does she do? She storms through past them, goes into the store. And the security guards got to come and go and get her. It wasn't a big issue, but just having to go through just the simplest of I don't know, I'm not sure what the correct word is. Just having common courtesies for your fellow person.
Not everybody has common
I got
courtesies.
you, but I'm just saying
and that is why we are stuck in this situation that we're in. If people would have just taken the responsibility and the responsible angle and wore a mask, stayed at home, did what they should have done, we would be in a different situation now. Yeah, we wouldn't have the numbers. But, everybody in El Dorado County was touting the fact that there has been no deaths up there. What happens? 4th of July. They stormed the beaches of...
Where's El Dorado? Is that where you, Placerville?
Yeah, Placerville up to South Lake Tahoe. Everybody storms the beaches of South Lake Tahoe, and the numbers go up, and they get their first death. So it's real.
So they just had that happen?
Yeah, this past week.
Okay.
So looking, because of people's irresponsibilities and wanting to go to work and wanting to do hair, and I understand that you have a responsibility to your family to feed them, clothe them, to do the adult things that you think you should do, but you're jeopardizing everybody for your selfishness. And we are very selfish people, and we're being shown by our selfish leader that it's okay to be that way. And I
go back to the C word. That's all based off of capitalism. Capitalism is not about the good of the people. It's not about the good of the community. It's about the good of self. It's about there's always got to be a winner and a loser. And I don't believe that societies can thrive and can do what they need to do to sustain themselves over long periods of time. And capitalism is showing its ugly. So think about this. Economists will tell you that this is the fourth financial crash that we've had just since 1900. And so they're saying every time capitalism is showing itself and the fractures and the limitations that it has, it's shown us at least 4 different times. Why do we continue to resuscitate and revive this capitalist system that we have when it's shown us time and time again that it can't sustain itself?
Because 1, people are familiar with it and they're comfortable with it. And 2, people are just pigs and they're stupid. Yeah. And so, it's back to the education, the educating the population that you can be a capitalist, but you have to have responsibility also. So the conversation I had with someone else earlier today was that this is, and I've been saying it since the beginning, this is the great reset of 2020.
Correct. I agree with you on that one.
All the folks that had these businesses and have run their time and their course, and they've been mean to other people, and they've been this way and that way. And if you had a beauty salon, or if you had a barber shop, or if you had all these jobs that you've now been put out of business, the next person up can if they have saved their money or have the skills or the talents, this is the opportunity that you can make, that you can start your own business, because it's the reset. Everybody gets to start from go now.
So think about this. One of the big attributes that they are ascribing to the spread of coronavirus, two factors. One is being inside of a closed area, in a place with walls, and longevity. So the longer you are in a room with people in a less than, in a very tight confines, the likelihood that you're going to contract corona goes up. Think about what schools are.
Oh, that's why I say I wouldn't. This guy came in to my job site and said that he didn't want to wear a mask. And so I said, okay, let me talk to you for a little bit, and by the time we get through with this conversation, you're gonna thank me because you're gonna want to wear a mask. And he looked at me like I was just the craziest person in the world. But I told him, I said, do you have parents? And he goes, well, it's kind of funny that my dad just passed of coronavirus. And I was like, what? And he goes, well, they won't say that it's coronavirus, but he passed, and he was in a rest home. And my mom, she's not doing very well either. I said, but you don't want to wear a mask. And he goes, well, it's my right. I have a right not to wear a mask. And I said, okay. I said, do you have kids? And he said, yes, I have 2 school-age kids, over or below 7th grade. Oh, they're both below 7th grade. I said, so will you send your kids to school in the current conditions where coronavirus is out there and you don't know where it's coming from? What child has it? You're putting your children in jeopardy and in risk. And he said, no, I wouldn't send my children. I said, well, why would you come to a place like this, not wear a mask, and then have the potential to drag this back to your children, who you're telling me that you're going to protect by not sending them into a school-based environment? And he had this shocked look on his face, and I could see him for the next 10 or 15 minutes staring at me like I had just pulled the top off of his head. And he was with his friends, and after about 15 minutes, I look over there, and of course he has a mask on, because it's common sense.
I agree.
But that segment of our population has been led down this road where they believe that they don't have to follow the rules. They're special.
So have you been keeping up with this new phenomenon? Well, it's kind of local here, and then there's an area down in Southern California where they have the recall Gavin Newsom, because they're saying that he's being a tyrant. He's got his, and this is the honest God truth, this is what they're saying, that he has his foot on the neck of Californians, just like the police officer had their foot on the neck of George Floyd.
Well, that's first of all an insult, but no,
I agree.
I haven't heard that.
But they had a demonstration yesterday, I think it was, either yesterday or it was Monday, out on I don't know, Champlain and Perron or somewhere out there in North Fresno. I don't know how many people. It looked like maybe it was about 50 or 60 people out there wanting now to recall Gavin Newsom, because they're saying, basically calling him a tyrant because of his.
And that is fine. For them to go and do what they need to do to make their voices heard. They have a First Amendment right to go out there and holler and hoop, as long as it's not causing anybody any issues. Let them go out. They didn't vote for him in the beginning.
Right. But you're saying that it's okay for their First Amendment rights, but what you started off with Portland, why is it not okay for those folks to express their First Amendment?
When did I say that? I asked you what you thought about Portland.
Right, but I'm saying that's the whole thing about Portland.
I didn't say that it wasn't.
I'm saying the whole discussion about Portland is about the federal government coming in there, squelching those. They're not even, I won't even call them protesters anymore. Those are people who have a disagreement with a policy of the United States, to express their constitutional rights about their disagreement. And so it's the same type of First Amendment. It's just funny how people.
Well, the difference is that the Antifa block of folks that are in Portland, the younger generation of Caucasian white folks that want to be disruptive, are trying to break into federal buildings in Portland and start fires at the federal buildings in Portland.
You know what Antifa stands for, right?
Anti-fascist,
Correct.
so and so and so and so. But the point that I'm getting to is that is the person that's doing that stuff in Portland. Someone has got to step in, and I'm not saying I'm with the federal troops to go in there and do that, but that to me, that's not relatable. The police department and the state should take care of the issues that are in Portland. That's how I feel about it. And it's not the federal government's. They always holler about state rights, which is a dog whistle in the code for, but it's a state issue that the federal government should not be in, because it's not crossing the borders. It's not crossing the lines.
Agreed.
The funny thing about Portland, or not the funny thing, the odd thing about Portland is that the Antifa group and the people that are downtown protesting and doing these types of things are totally separate from the Black Lives Matter people who are in a totally different part of Portland, protesting peacefully. And so now I listened to a station out of Portland, and they're trying to bring them together. They're trying to have a synergy between the two, and they're not. They're opposite. They're not opposite, but they're doing two different functions out there. So it's like I said, I think that African Americans should stay away from the protests that people want to see. These agitators, and I'm not even going to say Antifa is a hate group, or that's something that Donald Trump has put on these people so that he can send troops in there, like you said, as a test run for how far federal troops can do and what they can do on. So my prediction is that in some of these cities, these Antifa groups and the police and the local police are going to get into a big skirmish, and it's going to be something to see.
The thing that kills me about the Antifa is it's anti-fascism.
Okay.
So if you are fighting with the anti-fascisms, that means you're pro-fascism. And that's the part with this whole skirmish that goes on along with that. Who's pro-fascism? Who's going to say that they are pro-fascism? Nobody. So I don't understand why the government or why people or society has allowed Antifa, those who are anti-fascist, to be painted with a negative stroke. That's like saying people who are anti-slavery, people who are anti-oppression, people who are anti-whatever, you're fighting against them, then that puts you on the pro side. So they're saying that you're pro-slavery or pro-discrimination, pro-discrimination.
I'm not following. You're gonna have to give me a little more.
Antifa is anti-fascism. So anybody who ascribes and believes in with Antifa is against fascism. So for our government entity, our government the way it is now, or anybody else to be demonizing the anti-fascist means that they're pro-fascist.
Okay.
So if you translate that out to civil rights, the women's movement, the LGBT movement, if you have an anti-civil rights, an anti, and you're fighting against them, that makes you pro. And I don't understand why we as a society have allowed that negative description to be placed against being anti-fascism.
Well, who? Okay, and this goes to my system of racism, white supremacy, which is now being rebranded away from white supremacy to white. I can't think of the name. It'll come to me, but those are the folks that are in the controller's seat, and because they're in the controlling seat, they get to tell the history from their perspective and points of view. So now you have to work within the parameters that they give you. So, okay, we're going to say we're not anti-fascist, okay? And then they're going to say that you are fascist. And then, so my question is that a person, why should you even allow yourself to think how or be rebranded how someone else brands you.
Yeah, I mean, the societal labels comes from what you said. Like you said, those who are in power, those who are telling the story, those are the ones who comes up with those monikers that we wind up getting stuck with, unfortunately, in society. That reminds me, triggers me back to something I've been doing here recently. You've heard of Malcolm Gladwell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you listen to his revisionist history podcast?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'm encouraging everybody out there, check out Malcolm Gladwell's revisionist history podcast. And there is one on there that talks about the Boston Tea Party.
You brought that up last show.
Oh my God. When you listen to that podcast, and I'm listening to it now 3 different times,
Mm-hmm.
when you listen to how he describes through his evidence that he has gone in and seen records and those type of things, how he describes what happens with the Boston Tea Party and connects that to organized crime, when organized crime was in its heyday and stuff, it is absolutely incredible. And you will see that a lot of the structures and systems that we have in place right now in the United States was originated out of being on the wrong side of the law, being on the wrong side of societal norms. And it was that particular entity's ability to fight to get back in to the American dream is how they got into a criminalistic component. But he was saying basically the Boston Tea Party was not about taxation without representation. It was about the smugglers who were getting squeezed out of smuggling tea into the United States, who fought back and said, "Listen, we'll get rid of the British's tea because they're pinching our business."
Well, yeah, now that goes back to capitalism. What
Mm-hmm.
you're saying, that it's the people who find the loopholes in the system that makes the money until the loopholes are closed.
Correct.
So as long as something is working, then they're going to continue. The powers that be are going to continue to operate in that manner
Until they make it legitimate. And that's the other side that we got going on right now, is that a lot of the people who are on the wrong side, in particular with organized crime.
How do you make it legitimate?
By purchasing legislators,
Okay.
who then can make laws,
Right.
who support. They got a big old deal that's came out today. There's this big old bribery case that's going on right now in Ohio, where the guy who wound up being the head of the House of Representatives in Ohio has been found guilty of taking bribes from a nuclear power industry or a firm or whatever it was, so that he was the head of the Ohio State House of Representatives. 22 other people that was on that body were all bought with money and contributions.
Right.
So he's got 23 votes now that now says that when you get these tax rebates on your energy and stuff, so it's the taxpayers, the people's money, instead of it going back to benefit them directly into the energy sector, it's now going to pay dividends for the shareholders and those type of things. And you're going to hear more about it. It was a huge...
Yeah, I believe that's what happened with the water in Flint, Michigan.
Could be.
Things of that nature. It goes on with housing section. It happened here in Fresno, right?
So-
Operation Rezone.
Right.
The kickbacks and the money, because the people in power don't believe that they're going to get caught, or they do not have to change their operations. This is what the book says, and it's been working for me for 150 years. Right.
So two factors go along with that. The simple one is that I always talk about, that is not always easy to achieve, is that we got to participate. Whether you get turned off and then the candidates who are that you're going to vote for doesn't turn you on, or whatever, you got to participate, use your vote. And the other thing is we got to take money out of politics. Goes back to capitalism. As long as capitalism is in politics, where you cannot be run for the House of Representatives or for the U.S. Senate, anyone in Congress, if you're not raising if you're not a millionaire yourself, if you don't have $1 million of your own that you can invest and do different things with, you're not going to be in the House of Representatives. So it's about who can pay that. You and I can't contribute to that. It's the corporations. The other thing is I forget what it's called now, but where they made corporations people. The different corporations have votes and saying power just like we do as individuals. Those are the types of things that those who have been outside of on the wrong side of the ledger, that's how they now make it legitimate, is through buying and purchasing people, legislators, to be able to make those laws, make those or suggest those laws and then bring them to fruition. And so that's the whole political game is. If we would ever if we as the common people would just participate in that political process, things would change immensely. And the good part about it is I think that now that the young people, the millennials, those who are between the ages of 18 and 35 becomes now the largest voting bloc, things are going to change very, 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 very rapidly, especially locally in our local governmental bodies. It's going to change pretty quickly. Then it's going to permeate and go up the ladder to be able to affect the state and what's going on with the nation.
Yeah, and the only hole in the theory that you put out is that if you live in a conservative space and place that is bombarding the population and the populace with their facts, and there's no other outside penetration of knowledge or thought into that which is considered their facts, then you're going to end up with a bunch of dummies who think that they're educated on the things, and they're going to be used as tools.
Well, we're in a perfect petri dish for that. Exactly what you described.
Yes.
Those of us who are in Fresno in the Central Valley
are
in a perfect experimental atmosphere for exactly what you're saying.
Those mountains are high, and that Merced is a long, far distance away.
Yeah, I just from some of the information, and conversations and things that I've been doing, I just see that the young folks, the 35 to 18 group, who are not, they're not joining political parties in the sense that they're not becoming Republicans and Democrats and Libertarians and Green Party stuff. They're declining to state, and they are making their choices electorally based off of issues. If you're a candidate, no matter what party you're in, and you're speaking to their particular issues, then you're liable to get their votes. And it's different for us because our generation is based on social constructs. So whatever group that we're with, whatever is cool with them, and then that's basically the political party that we've gone to. But that younger generation, the 18 and 35s, is not based off of political parties. They're based off of ideologies and different.
Well, yeah. 30 years ago when I was at San Francisco State, one of the most impactful speeches that I heard was when Chuck D came to San Francisco State and gave a speech, and he talked about what America and their greedy capitalist society had set up. And what they had set up was Yo MTV Raps, which allowed the people in the Midwest to see exactly how a Too Short in Oakland was living, exactly how a Public Enemy in New York was living. This is before the rise of the South in hip hop and those different places. But out of that, those imageries that were broadcast around the world, you then started to have little white kids idolizing and growing up liking and wanting to be like these folks who their parents had demonized. And out of that comes the culture of this now, 30 years ago, you might have two generations under that. And that's why I believe that generation no longer, I'm not going to say see color, but they no longer have the biases that their parents had. And, we always state here that we're the, 50 year plus where the, Civil Rights Bill was enacted and signed in the legislation in '64. That, like I've been saying, that's the demarcation line. If you're older than us, you're going to have one mindset of thinking. And that's the problem with Donald Trump. He wants to take us back to the 50s and the good old days. And that's not where we are anymore. We have the younger generation that what you're talking about. They will be setting the rules. They will be setting the legislation. But one other thing that I want to say is that generation of 50 and plus have not relinquished the power
Correct.
to the younger
Agreed.
generations yet. So that is also where you're going to have a clash in the social constructs and the understandings and the ideologies of what is best for our society. And I think that that's a mask issue that you see. I think that that's an administrative issue in Donald Trump's administration, where he believes that he can send in troops, and these young folks ain't going for that. So you're right. This is going to be a very, very interesting next 4 to 6 years.
I'm not sure who said this statement.
Was it good? If it was good, I'll say it.
It was good. It wasn't you. And it was long before us. Power is not conceded. It is taken. So power is not given. So if I have power, no matter who the person is who has the power, they don't give it to other people. Usually power is taken by either, even in the wild. You know, I watched the dog show, the dog movie last night, Call of the Wild, where they have the sled dog. Have you seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
So anyway, there's they're the mushers, and the dog, the lead dog is in the front, the big dog. Well, there's this fight with this new dog that comes on board. They get into a fight at night, and the new dog then beats the lead dog. The lead dog takes off.
Mm-hmm.
So power is never conceded. It's never given by itself. Power is taken, whether through force or.
For all of you guys out there who want
Frederick
to,
Douglass actually.
For all of you guys out there that want to rattle your mind around the philosophy of power, read a book called Power versus Force. And it's going to break down some very, very complex understandings about power and versus force. Can power move the immovable force? So yeah, power.
That saying is attributed to Frederick Douglass. I didn't realize that.
He's still alive, according to Donald Trump. He's just hiding out in the cave somewhere with Bin Laden. I didn't say that. That's Donald Trump. Frederick Douglass need to come his dude.
I did not realize that was
Dust his
Frederick
spats
Douglass.
off.
And what he says is the exact quote is, "Power concedes nothing without a demand." And I've heard it said a different way.
So with that philosophy of, do you think, and I've already stated that I think that that's one of the issues going on in the United States right now of America, is that the controlling party, the Caucasian folks, are losing their power and their control over the society. And if that statement is true, how big of a clash are we going to see here in the next 3 to 6 years, where they're on the decline, they're moving?
It's going to be ongoing, because I think that this right now is a 12-year battle, because I think that the same power brokers that you're talking about, that you're ascribing to, with the election of Barack Obama in 2008, that was the first premonition that we're losing power. How in the hell can you hire, or how in the hell can we elect a black man? Blacks are inferior to us, to the power.
Yeah.
How can we do that?
But
so this is 12 years.
I
think of
the
that.
first chip in that power structure is when Lincoln, quote unquote, for the non-educated, freed the slaves, because that would set it.
I hear you, but I think I would give you some other examples. I would give you the signing of the Civil Rights Bill that happened way after that. That was
okay.
In,
That
it was
once
in the
again,
60s.
okay. But I'm saying that I think the first chip in the flaw of white society is when they can no longer use free labor Africans in the United States as a power structure. The most having an African was like having a new Cadillac.
Agreed, but what do they do?
What do you mean, what do they do?
Even after Lincoln, in theory, freed the slaves, are African people of African descent, their heyday in political power was immediately following the Emancipation Proclamation. We had our first senators hired to or not high, I keep saying higher, but first senators elected to the Senate in the United States. We had House of representatives out of South Carolina, out of Mississippi, those type of places. And what did they do 20 years in? They brought up the Jim Crow laws.
Right.
So,
and that is another book, White Rage, that should be read so that you can understand it. Every time African Americans moved into or moved out from under the umbrella of the greater white society, they were met with rage, which was
Rage
a
and
passing
resistance.
passing of laws to put them back in, and that's where the 13th Amendment come from. That's where Jim Crow laws come from.
they put in the voter tax. I mean, the poll taxes and
Right.
the literacy tests and all those other types of.
So the first chink, the first chip in their chain or their chink was when the people, the suppressed population of the United States, they were, cattle. They were property. When they were freed, which by the way, they were paid reparations in D.C. The slaveholders
Correct.
were paid
In the South.
reparations. In D.C. were paid reparations for the loss of their slaves, so to the slaveholders. So I believe that was their first chink in the armor, and it's been slowly been eroding away until now. But the reality of it is the only persons that can fix this issue, this virus called the system of racism, white supremacy, are white folks. I can't come to your house and make you cut your lights out in your house every night. You have to want to do that. You have to understand the philosophy of turning your lights out every night. Now, I can come by and remind you, but that's up to Darren to turn them lights out.
So think about what you just said and frame that in going back to what you started with Portland. That is not a matter of the federal government or racism, white supremacy, putting their boot on the neck of people of African descent. That is the body of racism, white supremacy, and the government putting the boot on people who don't agree with them. And I think that is what the biggest change is.
Are you saying that I framed it that way, or are you saying think about what I said?
I'm taking what you said and putting it back to, and I think that, for me, that's what the biggest change is. And that's why I believe that what we have right now, we're getting over that hill. And it's going to be our children, not my children, but your children's generation, who is going to make that change. Because the racism and white supremacy that we're facing right now, there are remnants of it being perpetrated against black folks, but there are also as many cases of it being perpetrated against non-black folks. So the folks that are being bombed and being shot in the face, those type of things in Portland, by the federal government, the supremacy, the white supremacy, and whatever else terms you want to give to them, is not a matter of that they're putting down the rebellion of black folks in Portland. It's about people who no longer agree with the power structure, black, white,
right,
men, women.
But that's not racist.
Agreed. And I think that's the difference in this. It's not solely predicated. What we're seeing and witnessing right now is not solely predicated on racism. Although racism is the foundation that the supremacy is coming from. It's about
racism is
the foundation. It's the thread that weaves everything in the United States together.
I think the control is. I don't necessarily mean the system of racism, white supremacy is, but I think it goes back to what you're saying. It's about the control. It's about, I'm going to make you buy my products. I'm going to make you use my issues. If the people in Portland just go lay down somewhere, and so think about what you're saying in the context of people opening up, wanting America to be open. They want America to be open for the financial and the economic thing because they want the money to flow. If the money doesn't flow, then those folks are out and without. So it's not based on anything other. For me, when it's that way, I'm gonna make you do something. I'm gonna force you to buy my products. I'm gonna force you back in line. I'm gonna force you to open up your schools. I'm gonna force you to do these types of things. And the anti-fascism are saying, no, you're just a government. You're now proving yourself to be fascist, and I'm going to be anti-fascist. So your point that you were making earlier is, yeah, that is correct. How can these people be so arrogant as to not see that they are working from a fascist state? Because the worst thing that you can call a white person is a racist. They'll go to town on you.
And I'm not thoroughly convinced that everybody that receives the criticism or the attack of being a racist is truly a racist.
Words matter.
I got you. I believe that it's all built on capitalism.
Okay.
Because the haves and the have not, the 1%ers and the rest of us. And we're up against it right now. I think we can flesh this out some more next week. We can get together. But the movement that's going on right now is not based in black and white. Foundationally, that's where it comes from because of our history. That's the foundation which this America that we live in is based off of. But the attacks that we've got right now is not based on black and white anymore. It's based on the haves and have-nots. And the haves, the 1%ers, who have been in power politically and socially, economically, are losing a grip on that. Their last-ditch effort was putting our president is in place now, and he's totally screwed the pooch on this. And it's gonna be a change.
So what did Marie Antoinette say?
Let him eat cake.
Let him eat cake.
Although they say supposedly she didn't say that. And by the way, cake at that time is not cake as we remember. I'm just telling you, cake that she was talking about was like a pastry. It wasn't like cake or like what we talk about. Anyway, so we're up against it again. It's a little after 9. So again, please make sure you get your census done. 2020census.org or census2020.org. Please make sure you go in and get your census completed no matter where you live. Make sure that you get registered to vote so that you can participate in the November 3rd election. We're right around 100 days. It's like 100 and...
You have your to-do list?
9. Yeah, my to-do list is all I got. See, but that's not what we need. We need a to-do list for the long. We got a bunch of stuff we got to get done. I got you. But anyway, so please make sure you get registered to vote. Please make sure that you're planning to participate. What we got going on, KP just put up the website for those of you who are in California. Those of you who are not in California, please make sure that you visit your Secretary of State, SOS website to make sure that you get registered. Until next week.
It's all love. Love, peace, and hair grease.
Hey, and wear your mask no matter where you are, in particular when you're enclosed inside of a building in close contact. G, till next week. We're out of here. Peace. See y'all next Wednesday.